All right, and we're live here with SampleServe Masterclass Wednesdays. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. Whether you're watching this now live or if you're watching this post, thank you for taking the time out of your day and watching this with us. I'm here with Russell Schindler. I'm Joshua Paul. Russell Schindler is the CEO, founder of SampleServe. I'm the product manager, digital marketing manager of SampleServe. Russell's got many years experience in the environmental fields. I have many years experience in digital marketing fields. And today we talk about mostly our clients, our users and possible users. We bring on experts from the field. And if you have any questions or comments, make sure you add them in the comments here. Even after this is over, we like to get back to it. And if you think this is helpful to anybody you think you would know, send this link over to them as well. So say hi, Russell.
Hey, how's it going?
So we like to give some tips and tricks on Masterclass Wednesdays. We like to, write your success story, help you learn how this app can help you in the field, in the office, and making reports. And we focus on our Sample E&V product on Wednesdays, usually. That involves a project management tool, mobile app that's free, a lab app that's free, and we have a report generation product built in there as well. That one is not free, however.
Yeah.
We make environmental tools for environmental professionals, digital tools for environmental professionals. And today we have a special one. It's using digital methods for large-scale environmental monitoring projects. So we have a lot of clients that have used SampleServe on large-scale environmental projects. We have some case studies we want to talk about, and we want to show you the benefits and some of the problems that some clients were undergoing before they were using SampleServe. So Russell, what do you think is a large project in your mind? I know you've been out in the field a lot in your day and you've seen them all. So what do you think is a large one?
So, the way I describe a large projects, we're really where you're going to be spending 3 or more days. And now that could be 3 people doing it in one day or one person over 3 days. Typically that's going to be 25 monitoring wells. Or more. We've done some huge projects, but 3 man days, it's one person on site for a day. If you got 10 people on site for 10 days, it's 100 man days. So
yeah,
and then it's it's usually one continuous event, right? It's not like you're just going out there every month for one day or for one sample. It's one continuous. So that's what I would kind of define as a large project.
Yeah. And it could be less than like 25 wells, but you're doing it all the time. That's also a large project as well.
Yeah.
And the challenges in traditional sampling methods today, it's a lot of it's paper-based. Large projects are very hard to control when everything's paper-based. When you're planning your work scopes, sending people out in the field with, an amalgamation of different products. I know a lot of users were before us were using, they would use a Google Calendar, and then they would use Excel to, plan work scopes. And then they would use a form builder to go out and collect stuff in the field. And then they would use, so it'd be like 4 different apps, or, some parts would be paper, some parts would be digital. And then you'd have to find a way to connect all these dots.
Yeah, they have data on a paper form, but they're writing the field data they're collecting in a little yellow field book. So they're flipping back and forth and trying to figure out what they're supposed to be doing on a particular location. And all of that back and forth eats up a lot of time.
Oh, yeah, it does.
Especially when you got to kind of go through your files at every sample location you're going to. And then just simply trying to find them. Sometimes these things aren't easy to find, especially in the wintertime in the north. When they're covered with snow, or you're in a grassy field or in the woods or something, just finding them can take quite a while.
Oh yeah. When you're trying to find a flush well in an overgrown field where the grass is up to your belly button, that's not fun.
No.
That's going to take a long time. So it's kind of a little bit of everything, that all these tiny inefficiencies add up.
Yes.
A lot of extra time wasted in the field.
Yep.
And when you're planning projects as well. And that's where we're here to help. Benefits of using SampleServe for large projects. Really, it really starts with organization and accessibility, because you can plan projects all in one spot. You can delegate work scopes to who you need to. You can say, hey, I need Bob, Tim, and John to go out Friday, do these wells, and then just Tim and John can go out the next day and finish these wells. And you're going to cut your time in half typically, especially on
Well,
bigger projects, because that it multiplies. It's a force multiplier. It's going to be, the bigger the project, the more time you're saving.
well, and it's also going to order your sample bottles for you, right? You don't, it's going to literally know how many bottles of each type that you're going to need, and can place that order automatically. So, which is a very common thing to get forgotten. Plus, if you're using, say you're doing dissolved metals, it's going to know how many filters you're going to need, how many feet. If you're doing low flow with, fresh tubing, you're going to know exactly down to the foot how many feet of tubing that you'll need in order to accomplish that job. So you'll be able to just quickly look and go, oh, I better make sure I go out there with 420 feet of tubing at minimum, so that you can get the job done. And so it just saves a lot of time, and also sorts sample locations from clean to dirty. It'll look back at the historical data, pull up the last time it was sampled, and then sort your locations automatically from clean to dirty, which is a good quality control measure. You shouldn't be sampling the hottest well first at the site. You should be, sampling the clean ones and then moving your way down towards the hotter ones. So it just manages all that stuff that people like to do, but it actually takes a lot of time, and it does it automatically in an instant. So
yeah, and printing labels in the field, that's a big time saver as well.
Yeah. And it reduces transcription errors, right? You're not getting to the laboratory and they can't read your writing, which happens very frequently. And probably the biggest savings is, when you're done at the site, all the data is once you've synced your device back to the cloud, all your data is done. You don't have to go back to the office and type that data in, or have the, AutoCAD guy come and ask you what you wrote here, because he can't interpret your writing. So there's all kinds of savings and efficiencies right there. And it's free. So
yeah,
that's the best part.
Project planning and sampling digitally in the field is all offered free by SampleServe. So this is, it's not just like a trial. It's just completely free. We offer this just as a service. Our goal is to get you on the platform and start using us. And eventually, you'll start using our reporting functionality, which just makes everything 10 times easier.
Yep. Yeah. And they're not tied together. You don't have to use our reporting. Most people do. They opt into that, but you're not required to use our reporting services.
Yeah. And the one place for communication. So this is the kind of where we're all we have different apps for different users, right, Russell? We have a project management tool. You go on your desktop. This is going to be used by the project manager that sets up all the projects. He's going to be delegating which sample locations will be collected, what kind of methods you're going to use, all your QA, QC, who's going to be doing it. So this is all going to be easily done on, a desktop in the office. And then there's an app for the field, a separate app where the field techs can go out and they'll see exactly what they need to do.
It's all connected. The lab knows if the project manager makes a change at the last minute, that change gets distributed out to everybody. The lab knows they made the change. The field tech knows they made the change. And everyone's on the same page at the same time. So it just really simplifies and makes the communication a lot more efficient.
Right. You don't need to text anybody. You don't need to make a phone call.
Right.
All you need to do is just update the app.
Yep.
So let's move on to some case studies, Russell. I know you got some good stories and some horror stories turned to happy endings, I should say.
Yeah. So a while back, we, SampleServe historically used to do a bunch of sampling, and we use our own product, right? We would use our own software. And so we were contracted to do routine sampling at U.S. Steel in Gary, Indiana. It was over 200 monitoring wells that had to be sampled quarterly. So I spent a good amount of time at U.S. Steel and Gary. And the reason they did it is they just got that project and they were short on staff and they needed assistance to get the project done. They were behind schedule, and they just needed to improve their efficiency. And so what we went and did is using our software. One of the things that we measure is time, right? So we know exactly how many minutes it takes to sample a well. For that well, we track that. But importantly, tracking the time between wells is one of the key metrics that I've learned over time is where a lot of time is wasted, right? You go out and you sample a well. It's really difficult to really speed up the sampling, especially when you're doing low flow. There's some things that you can make it more efficient, but it's going to take time to stabilize. And what I found is that, it's kind of from sampling event to sampling event, a well is going to perform similarly every time. It's not like one time it can be sampled in 18 minutes and the next time it takes 45. It's usually right around 18 minutes every time. And so having that information readily at hand, which we provide, is great. And then the time, by the time you get the labels on the bottle and I would always check the time between when they sampled. You can tell when they finished decon and then when did they start the next well. Well, it shouldn't take that long, especially when you can walk, the app's going to walk you right to the next location.
Mm-hmm.
Shouldn't take that long to move your equipment over. And, in a lot of cases, people are taking an hour and a half. And it's because when they're using paper methods, they would have to go through their files and check what they're sampling on that well, try to look up how deep it is so that they know they got the right amount of tubing and what the anticipated depth to water is. So with the app, everything's right there. It's like, as you're going through the flow, it's showing you the information you need at that time. So we were able to go from where that was taking them over a month to get all their sampling done to 200 wells. They were getting like 2 to 3 wells done a day. We upped them to about 7, 8 wells per day. We were able to get in there and get it done, and also get started quickly. Again, when you're spend a lot of time rifling through paper, getting organized for what you're going to do that day is very difficult.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the other things we did is we just had a courier. They were actually having people bring samples back to the office. So each technician was, bringing their samples back to the office so they could pack them on ice. And, they were icing them in the field. But we just set up a courier to go out around and just kind of pick up samples as they were getting them done, doing that chain of custody. So it just made it a lot more efficient. And there's less time driving around.
Mm-hmm.
And so we were able to really speed up that project, and we got it done in 2 weeks. I went from, over a month to getting it done in 2 weeks. So
nice. So about half the time.
Yeah. I still spent way more time than I wanted to in Gary, Indiana, but
oh, come on.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful place.
It was an incentive to get out of there as fast as possible.
The next one in Flint, Michigan, old automotive manufacturing plant.
Yeah, big plant there. They demoed the plant. And in this one, they had 200 gauging, water level elevations they needed, and then 52 monitoring wells. And it was taking them, 2 weeks to get it done. We did kind of the same thing. We measure certain things and just have some metrics that we keep track of. Again, time to get started in the morning, time between wells, and it really helps you to minimize your time between wells when you can go straight to the next one. Right. Just looking at the app very quickly, it tells you which one you're going to next. You just tap on it. Everything you need to know is right there. And so that's how they're able to save a lot of time. And we got them down to literally, we would start Monday morning and be done by noon on Friday. So, we had a team of people there, but we were able to really create a lot of efficiencies there. Again, just by being organized and having all the information readily available, which is what the platform does. So,
Yeah. And this project, I remember you saying this project was specifically hard because at the time there was, a lot of overgrowth, and they were also using this as a parking spot for automobiles at the
Yeah,
same time too, weren't they?
yeah, yeah,
So finding wells were extra hard in this situation.
yeah. When we first started it, we did this for years and years. It was all like, as in this picture, it was all just vacant, like foundations and parking lots.
Hmm.
But over the years, it was actually kind of a fascinating um, study in how quickly Mother Nature can take over.
Hmm.
By the time we were done sampling there, the trees were, trees that were growing up through the cracks of the parking lot were 15, 20 feet tall,
Right.
so just to see it from, nothing to like all of a sudden there's deer,
Right.
living on the property.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Nice. And last one here, chlorine manufacturer in Arkansas.
Yeah, this was a very interesting case. This one, they were doing biannual sampling, and it would take them over a month. And really, one of the big efficiencies is they were doing 3-volume purge. And a lot of these wells were deep wells, and they're 4-inch wells. They were just, was sampling for chloride, which in the pH was really, really low in these wells.
Yeah.
But they were doing 3-volume purge, and they had to dispose of all the water. They had to containerize it. And so they were driving around with, 500-gallon tanks and having to put the purge water into these wells. And they were getting 2 or 3 wells done a day just because they spent a lot of time disposing of water,
Hmm.
and had to have special equipment for that. We went in there, we just proposed to do low flow, perfectly acceptable, um, work technique for sampling. And, just because now the volume of water that they had to dispose of was a lot less. It took a little bit longer. And really, in the most cases, it was actually shorter because they stabilized, just like a normal well in a relatively short amount of time. And we went from, those guys doing 2 to 3 wells per day, down to doing 7 or 8 a day. And again, it was 5 separate projects. And, so you had to, when you mowed from one project to the next, it was, several miles away. But when you're on that particular project, the wells were just like a normal one, not too far apart.
Hmm.
And so we got that down to a 2-week project, where it was like a 4 to 5 week project before. So
Right.
we would go to Arkansas twice a year, spend two weeks down there. And again, it was an incentive to get out of there. We were actually working 7 days a week, most cases. They had
Right.
some kind of rule where you could only work, I think, 12 days in a row. So if we went a little bit over, we had to take a day off. So
Oh,
we
okay.
usually would pick a day that was pouring down rain. We'd take that day off, and that we didn't really ever have a problem.
Right.
Uh, you know, being forced to take a time off. It would just be a rainy thunderstorm day. We'd take that day off.
Right. So
So yeah, we did that for several years as well.
yeah, so these, case studies are really based on going in there, and you have the information of what they were doing beforehand.
The
Over there.
field tech doesn't have to spend hardly any time pulling up information on what they're supposed to do at that particular location. It just tells them which one to go to. They know all the material that they need for the day right there at hand. So they're not spend a lot of prep time. That's really the beauty of the software. It just really streamlines and organizes everybody so they know exactly what they're doing. They see pictures that the previous sampling person
Right.
took of the sample location. They've got GPS coordinates that'll show them on a map where they're at, where the location is, and you just walk to it. And it'll take you right there. And so it's just a lot of time saving features in our free app.
Yeah, and we like to say we save between 40 to 60% on big projects like this,
Yeah.
mostly because it's adding up. You're saving time in all these small categories that add up to big time savings.
Yeah.
Especially
Typical field tech saves about 20% of their time.
Mhm.
Some people say it's even higher than that, but and it's because you're just not doing all that busy paperwork. and no
Mhm.
more data entry,
Yeah.
back at the office.
Yeah, and yeah, that's where the big time savings is, the data
Yeah.
reentry. So if you're interested in trying SampleServe out, you can get a more in-depth explanation, virtual demo on our website by hitting the virtual demo button here in the top right. It takes about 20 minutes to get through. It's broken up into little videos, introduction, project setup, and the field app. It'll take you through each step in the data chain, and you can learn yourself how this works, and you can even sign up by hitting the get started button on the website. And the account creation is free. Add your team, get your project set up. It's very easy. There's help videos scattered throughout the app. And if you're interested, go ahead and hop online and take a demo, get started. You can even sign up for a live demo with us as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah. We're always happy to do live demos and
Yep.
answer questions right away.
Yep. And we'll take you through a full training session too if you need to as well.
Yeah.
So I think that's it. We reached our 20-minute mark, Russell. So I think we
Yeah.
got it. Good job. I think we're go for next week. So keep a lookout for next week's, and we'll see you next time. Thank you, guys.
Okay. Thanks.